Oh, hello. Oh, no, you're here already. Sorry about that. Sorry to keep you waiting. Welcome back to my world of stuff. Today, I've decided to resurrect a feature that I ran when I started the channel a year or so ago. And it sort of stopped when I decided to ease back on the channel a little bit. But I thought I'd bring it back because it was quite good fun. It's the retro movie review. This is where I would look back at a classic old film in my collection, usually a genre film of some kind, but not exclusively so. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that again because it was quite fun to give me an opportunity to look back at some old titles in my collection. And I thought I would do it to celebrate the release on the 4K of one of my favourite films from the early 21st century, Dog Soldiers, the film that brought Neil Marshall to prominence. And in all honesty, I don't think he's actually bettered this. He followed it up with The Descent, the very claustrophobic caving horror, which was a good film. I don't think he's really delivered since then. He did that dreadful remake of Hellboy a couple of years ago. He did a very poor apocalyptic film called Doomsday after The Descent. And I think he struggled, although he's worked a lot and he's done TV and he's kept busy, I don't think he's really made the most of what this film promised. So this has just come out on 4K from Second Sight. I have to say, Second Sight, I'm not really fussed on the cover. You have to get really close to it to sort of work out exactly what it is. It's in red. You see a number of soldiers fighting against werewolves, which, of course, if you've not seen the film, that's what it's all about. I have to say that I much prefer the original DVD Blu-ray cover, and I've never actually had it on Blu-ray. I was quite surprised at this cover, but I prefer this cover, which I think is much more atmospheric, than this cover, which is just a little bit messy and sort of ooh. But it's a disc that's packed with special features, new features, documentaries, interviews, deleted scenes, gag reel, all those bits and pieces. I haven't seen this film probably for maybe 15 years, maybe longer, so I'm very interested to see how it holds up all this time later on. So we're going to watch this now, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about it later on. So let's get it in the player.
2 hours later.
So there we are, Dog Soldiers. That was a blast. I must admit, I really enjoyed watching that again. As I said, it must be a good 15 years since I've seen the film. And watching it in 4K on the big screen tonight was, a bit of a treat. Thoughts about the film then, going forward. It struck me that it's the sort of film we don't get very often these days because it's a very tough, macho, masculine film. It's about this group of soldiers on what appears to be a routine training mission in the Highlands of Scotland, although it was actually filmed in Luxembourg for tax reasons, who come under attack by a group of 7-foot-tall werewolf creatures which are stalking the woods. And it's interesting to watch it because these days we don't really get masculine sort of films, or very rarely. And that's probably a generalization, but we tend to get a lot of films these days that are sort of coming of age stories and stories obsessed with gender and sexuality and diversity. And it's nice to sit down and watch a film that's only 20 years old, that's about a bunch of blokes who talk about football, probably a bit too much, are talking earthy language, who are involved in a very masculine, dramatic, horrific situation. And it makes you realise how things have changed in the last 2 decades. Whether it's for the better or not is a matter for you. I think watching this film now, if it was made now, I think the usual suspects would be up in arms about toxic masculinity and the overbearing male characters. There is one quite strong, important female character in the film. But no, basically this is a film about tough blokes in a very tough situation, army blokes. And yeah, it was quite refreshing to see a film like this when we don't get this sort of thing these days. It's not the thing anymore. But beyond all that, I think it stood the test of time very well. It's quite clearly a first film. It's got that sort of passion and energy and slight homespun feeling about it. It was, I think the budget was something like 3 million, so that's not small beer, but it feels like a first film from a director. Neil Marshall wrote the script himself, refined it over a 6-year period, and then directed it in 2001 when it came to screen in 2002. And it feels tough and visceral, and it's a bit rough around the edges in places. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But it really rattles along. Visually, I think it stands up very well. The werewolves are men in costumes, but they're quite imposing, tall, powerful looking creatures. And in the early scenes in the film, we just see quick flashes of them in the woods when the soldiers are being chased by something. They're not entirely sure what it is. It's violent, it's bloody. There's lots of scenes of extreme sort of gore and viscera. At one particular moment, one of the characters is rushing through the woods and he impales himself on a tree. In another sequence, Sean Pertwee's character is effectively disemboweled by a werewolf. He does survive when he's got to bundle back into his body, which is then strapped up, which might seem a little bit unlikely, but it's sort of that particular plot point comes back later in the film. They eventually, the survivors of the unit find themselves holed up in this country cottage where they've been rescued by a female character. And we discover that the house actually belongs to a family of werewolves. And much chaos and carnage ensues, basically. There are some interesting twists about who the werewolves are and who becomes werewolves. And all in all, it's just very good. It's called fun, but it's not really fun. But it's a very fast-paced, gritty film. And I'd forgotten just how tough it is and how dark it is. In terms of the way it looks on 4K, it is actually quite grainy. But I think that works to its advantage because it is obviously quite a dark film, thematically and visually. And it doesn't pop the colours because there aren't that many colours in it. I mean, it's sort of very khaki sort of film and very dark. But I think that works to its advantage. So, I mean, it's a sharp, nice, crisp, clear picture, but it does have that sort of layer of grain on, which gives it a bit of grit. The performances are fine, the effects are fine, the visuals are fine. But I love the fact that it's got an energy about it. It's got a crackling energy of somebody who's making a film, a film fan who's made a film, and now he's to say he's gone on to do a lot of other stuff, which a lot of it isn't as good as this. This crackles with energy and action and real spirit. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching again. It's a really good film, and I think it stands up very well. I think obviously people will pick up on the lack of female characters, although there is, as I said, there's one important, strong female character in it. But it's a film about men, tough, masculine blokes, behaving like men, well, the way men used to behave when they were allowed to. So I've really enjoyed it. So it's well worth picking up again. Apart from that dodge, I just don't like that cover. I'm sorry, I just don't get on with that cover. In terms of special features, I haven't had a chance to watch them yet, but I will be digging into them. Certainly the making of feature and there's a documentary about werewolves, crawlers, cannibals, and more, a 40-minute interview with Neil Marshall, History of Lycanthropy, which of course is the act of turning into a werewolf. Author Garen Bagley on werewolf cinema, and then there's a lot of stuff on here to watch. But I just, for this particular video, wanted to concentrate on the film itself. If you're interested in picking it up, it is available now on a 4K disc. If you buy it on 4K, you just get the 4K. I think there's a new Blu-ray version out as well. There's also a big, expensive box set, 40 quid worth, which I didn't go for this time. I just really wanted the film. And I really enjoyed it. I think it really stands up. I mean, it's clearly a film of 20 years ago, but that doesn't mean it looks that, it doesn't hasn't aged badly, if you know what I mean, but it's clearly a film of its time. That's Dog Soldiers on 4K now, the first in my new series of retro movie reviews. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, hey, why not subscribe to the channel and see more videos of retro films and new films and TV shows and DVDs and Blu-rays and books and comics and all sorts of stuff, because that's what this world of stuff is all about. So subscribe, like, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you've got any suggestions of other retro films you'd like me to watch and review, genre films or non-genre films, I'll watch anything really. Let me know down below in the comments down below, and I'll see what I can do. Right, thank you for watching this video. Hope you have enjoyed it. I will see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.